Ever feel like you're falling behind on the latest tech, AI, and all the smart devices in your life? That used to be me, until I started tuning into The Kim Commando Show. It's on over 400 top radio stations and packed with the latest in the tech, AI, security tips, and tricks. Here's a secret I learned. If an Amazon package has the letters LPN, the item was returned. It's not new. Join millions who rely on Kim Commando. That's The Kim Commando Show, Komando.
Here we go.
Well, thanks for listening to the LCR Media Podcast, where we get to know the pros. I'm your host, LCR Naylor Taliaferro, and on today's IBG episode, as I alluded to on, I believe, Tuesday's episode, I wanted to talk about the podcast summit that brought to you by the LCR Media Podcast. We did this last year. It was the first inaugural event, as Paul Jameson from the Green Industry Podcast says so frequently. We have a lot of inaugural events, which is great for this community. And I want to, like, as I've also said on previous episodes, I want to push LCR Media to just do more, right? Come up with more inaugural events so that we can have these great opportunities to get together. Live events are really, really, really critical for our community, for the lawn and landscape community. It's just, when we get together, so many like-minded entrepreneurs, business owners, we can really talk shop, strategize, talk personal life, just hang out, have some drinks if that's our thing, do whatever activities maybe are going on there, whether it be demoing equipment or whatever, go-kart racing, right, at a Entrepreneur Academy Live, Brian Fullerton's event up in Novi, Michigan every November, like whatever it is, it's just a great time to get together. It always is a great time when we get together, I should say, as a community. It just gives everyone full of energy, and I have experienced that multiple times personally, because I have a lawn care business as well. That's how all this started for me, finding the community in its infancy 8 years ago and helping foster growth and creating all the content that I've created over the years and the different events that have become synonymous to LCR Media and myself, and I just want to keep moving that needle forward and keep creating more opportunities, because I know how valuable it was, the little bit that had happened, in the early years. I know how much it benefited me personally, so I want to keep doing that for everyone else. So I want to keep everything going that's currently going and keep having more inaugural events, is a short story long there. So last year we did it at Mulchmate headquarters up in Maryland, which is only a couple hours from me. I wanted to be closer to home for, a new event that I was putting together. Nick Carlson and myself have become pretty good friends over the years. I've been to his shop many times for many different reasons. I've purchased different things there, Cartmate, Truckmate. There's a discount code in the link in the episode description, just, shameless plug there. If you guys are looking into any of the Mulchmate suite of products and you go on their website and you see something you like, you can go ahead and put in code LCR, I believe, whatever, LCR or LCR10. I think it's just code LCR, yeah, because it's not necessarily 10% off. It's different amounts for different things. So you just put in code LCR. But again, that link is in the episode description since we're talking about it, because we've gotten to know each other so well. Myself and some other content creators have partnered up with Nick Carlson and Mulchmate so that we can give you guys some good discounts on some great products that can help change your business and move the needle forward with less labor and so on. Just work more efficiently, be more profitable. So anyway, that's my little commercial break there, I guess, but I'm sure Mr. Producer will put something else in there later on in the episode here. But so, because of my relationship with Nick and being there so many times and knowing how cool it is to go there for first timers and get to see all the fabrication live and in action, see them just working relentlessly, putting all of these things together. There's always stuff to demo and play around with. It seems like every time I go there, there's something new that he's just invented that he's playing around with. It's not even released yet. It's super hush-hush beta testing, whatever. Prototype, actually. Beta testing is like tech stuff, but I know he's probably going to be getting into that one of these days too, probably. But prototype, he's got a lot of prototypes all the time, and I get to play around with stuff and sometimes make videos and release it, at a later date and things like that. And so, and he has a bunch of conference rooms, and it's just a really cool vibe up there. It's just a little cold this time of year, right? And when winter comes, in Maryland. So it'd be nice to do these things kind of in Miami, or San Diego, California. That would be sweet, right? That I've heard that's like the best place in the country year round for the most part. So maybe there'll be something coming soon, hint, out that way. But at any rate, I wanted to do, the podcast summit up in Maryland there, in Baltimore, Maryland area where Mulchmate was, for all the different reasons I just mentioned. And, in case you don't know what this event is, the podcast summit is, I invite all of the podcasters in our space and complementary or adjacent spaces like fencing industry, hardscaping, pond construction, like anything that is still kind of complementary, I guess. It's the best way that I could say, like, it's still in the trades, right? You're still a tradesman. You're still working outside, building something, installing something, maintaining something, or whatever. There's a lot of overlap in the things that we talk about on our podcast, the guests that we interview. There's a lot of good business best practices and gold nuggets that we leave along the way on all of these podcasts. So that there's a reason why I'm listening to the Fence Industry podcast, and they're listening to my podcast, and so on and so forth. And we're all just collaborating and sharing information, and mixing and matching different guests and folks and collaborating. So that's the big thing for me, is collaboration. It's been like that for a while, many, many years since Get to Know the Pro days, my original YouTube series, my YouTube channel. You can check that out as well on Lawn Care Rookie on YouTube, and the playlist. There's a couple for 2 different seasons of Get to Know the Pro where I go interview folks in the industry and spend the day with them or 2 and see their setup, listen to their story, maybe see them or their crews in action, all that kind of stuff. But it's all about collaborating for me, collaborating, networking, bringing the community together. So this is just another one of those opportunities. So I invite all of the podcasters that I can, that I know will bring value, create value. And any of them that can came. And then obviously I invite anyone in the local area or that wants to travel, to the area. That's totally on them. I get a, hotel block for anyone that wants to spend the night, coming out of town and they're not local and they want to spend the night. I have the opportunity, get a little group discounted rate. They can do that, and they can come meet and hang out, network with all of us, kind of like any other, small live event that we have, whether it be, a conference or a quip. So it's just a mini version of that, just focused on podcasting, right? Like, podcasting has always kind of been in the background of every other event. We bring our cameras, our podcasting equipment, and we go to these live events and we participate in whatever the live event is for, like a quip or a conference, we're listening to speakers or whatever, is on the agenda for those events. And then kind of in between everything, or at the end of the day, or first thing in the morning, or all the above, late night hotel room, like Paul Jameson loves to try to avoid nowadays. He's like, we always end up, I try to go to bed earliest out of everybody. And somehow we always end up podcasting till 1 a.m. in my hotel room. Like, pick someone else's hotel room so I can go to bed. Oh, poor Paul. But, that's just what happens when we all get together. Like, a lot of us don't see each other very often. So we just are super excited to see each other and hang out and talk shop and, get caught up on things and create content. It's just a great opportunity. We're all out there working, hustling, growing our businesses and so on, above and beyond content creation. So when we all get together, that we just can't really get enough is what it seems like. So, but yeah, so, we end up just creating content, recording podcasts and YouTube videos and all that kind of in the background of these events. And like I said, it's so 1 a.m. or this or that or whatever. I just really want to have an event just for podcasting, so that is the actual purpose of the event. So we're not scrambling to try and squeeze in content here and there wherever we can, and maybe even potentially missing out on some of the event itself. Like, oh, we missed, so-and-so speak because we were in the middle of recording a podcast with somebody that I really wanted to get on the show, and they were here and, we got them on or whatever. So, it's all well and good, but I just really wanted to have an event just specifically for podcasting, putting podcasting in the foreground instead of the background like it normally is. So that's what the podcast summit is. So like I said, I invite everyone that I can to that podcast, and anyone that wants to come local, and if anyone wants to travel out of town, they can come visit and hang out with us. Maybe if you've never met, certain people, whether it be me or Paul Jameson or Caleb Allman or whoever, that maybe you haven't met, you want to meet, hang out, talk shop, or be on the podcast, because we're going to be recording podcasts throughout the whole day, 9 to 5. Trying to get as many folks on our podcast as possible. Usually make them a little bit shorter at times if we can, so that we can get more done, more podcasts in, talk to more folks, and so on. So that's really what the podcast summit is. It was powered by Kohler last year, and again, it's going to be powered by Kohler this year. Obviously, Nick over at Mulchmate did a great job, letting us use his facility. He also catered in some food for us, some really nice barbecue. Local food was really good, and a lot of folks showed up. And again, like I was hoping, they talked to Nick, they talked to the team, they watched them work, they played around with some stuff in between getting on our podcast, on everyone's podcast as well. So all in all, we all had a great time. It was just cold, right? It's Maryland. It's not Florida in the winter. So that's probably the biggest thing that I would like to change in the future, but we're all indoors. So aside from just demoing, Mulchmate stuff and Cartmate and everything outside, we were inside, so it wasn't too terrible. So with that being said, I wanted, like I said in the very beginning of this episode, I just wanted to switch gears a little bit. I'm not really sure if it's going to be more of like a traveling location for the podcast summit every time. I think it's definitely doable, since it is a smaller event versus something bigger, like something at Equip, like the Rally or Influencer Live, things like that, or any of the other conferences like LAL and other ones that have come around the community. They're more focused on a specific area, like Brian has it in Novi, Michigan, or he has it not in Novi. I think it's, I forgot the town. Maybe it is Novi, Michigan. I know that's where he's from, but anyway, it's in Michigan, close to where he lives, so that it's easy enough for him to constantly go back and forth and get everything situated, all the planning and everything, the venue and all that stuff, and work with all the local vendors. It's a lot easier. Trust me, it's challenging for me to plan the rally in Louisville, Kentucky, every Thursday night, every year at Equip Expo from, Virginia. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know anything. I mean, I know enough about Louisville now. I've got a lot of connections. I know, Louisville tourism, they've helped me out a lot. I know everyone that I need to know, but like, I can't physically be there to meet with anyone or talk with anyone. So there's a lot of Zoom calls, conference calls, emails, all that kind of stuff. A lot of you folks in the community that live close enough or actually in Louisville have definitely volunteered to help and have helped at times when needed. But for the most part, I'm able to do everything remotely, and it's all worked out well. Of course, when I get down there for Equip Expo, I walk everything, the day before to make sure everything's 100% ready to go and any loose ends are tied and all that kind of stuff. So this way we're ready to go, and hopefully without any flaws on Thursday night. But so I know the challenges of what I'm saying is doing that remotely. So that's why I know one of the reasons, I'm sure, why Brian does his conference in Michigan, and why I wanted to do the first, at least, podcast summit, even though it's smaller. I still wanted to do it, close enough to home, only a couple hours away. So if I needed to, I could always come back home or whatever. It's just a lot easier for me feeling that close versus having to fly somewhere at the time of the event and just doing everything remotely is a little tricky. So with that being said, I feel like we've got a good format going on. Everything went well, so I wanted to try a new location. And I know Caleb and Brittany Allman have a new HQ, as Caleb calls it, new headquarters, new facility that they built, a shop for their hardscape business, as well as a lot of area for studio space to create content for themselves, to have training for the Hardscape Academy, for anyone that wants to learn, more about hardscaping or get into hardscaping, period. They built it. That's all that kind of workspace in there. So that's really cool, and it looks really cool, and I'm super excited for them. And I believe it's open right now and ready to go. I know they have some training scheduled in the next few months. So they were able to pencil in some room, put us on the calendar for the podcast summit, January 28th. So the end of January, which is around the same time as it was last year. up in Maryland, but this time it's going to be in OH, right? Good old Ohio, around a Columbus area. It's actually technically Carroll, Ohio is where it is. So that's at Almond HQ, Carroll, Ohio, January 28th from 9 to 5. So that is a Saturday. So this way, hopefully everyone, last year was on a Friday. So some guys might have been working still. I'm not really sure why I made it on a Friday instead of a Saturday. Well, I know why, because I made it on a Friday because Mulchmate was open, right? So I didn't assume that they were going to be working on Saturday or want to come in on their, day off on Saturday to help us host this event. I wanted them to kind of be working and so that everyone could see them working and, like I said, demo things, stuff like that. So it just didn't make sense if we did it on a Saturday and they were closed to have it there. So that's actually why I did it on Friday. But now that none of that's the case, it's not like we need an active working facility with products being built or anything like that. It's Almond headquarters. So it's open anytime they want it to be open or need it to be open. So we're going to do it on Saturday, the 28th, 9 to 5. So hopefully more folks will be available. So again, any of you local to the Ohio area, that could be, Indiana, Michigan, all the surrounding states. It might be a 3-4 hour drive, but it's not like you have to fly or anything like that, like down to Louisville for a Quip Expo or something like that, or out to, if you're flying to Michigan from somewhere to get to Brian's event, things like that. If you're local enough where you're, 3-4 hours or less away, it would be awesome to see you guys if you want to drive on up. This is a totally free event, just like it was last year. It's powered by Kohler, which allows us to do some things to make it as professional and as good of an experience as we can make it for everyone involved, the podcasters, the space, and so on. We're going to have food catered in as well for lunch, so everyone can just chill and relax, not have to worry about leaving to eat or anything, and we can just podcast all day, 9 to 5.
Hey friends, Mr. Producer here, and I've been listening to Naylor emphasize route density on his podcast for over a year now. And I've encouraged him to take all this material and create a masterclass to put all of his knowledge in one place and share it with you. This is going to be a live 3-week course. Nothing's pre-recorded. You'll have access to group live streams and one-on-ones with Naylor. Every session ends with action steps that you can implement right away in your business. Plus, you'll get a copy of the session recordings emailed to you. Hey, if you want to learn how to make $1,000 all the way up to $3,000 a day in lawn maintenance through route density, then you need to click the link in the episode description. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Toro's brand new battery-powered Revolution Series products are changing the lawn care industry. With all-day runtime from the innovative HyperCell battery system, you can expect to power through your entire day, every day. Head to revolution.toro.com to see how Toro is transforming the game with the latest equipment innovations, or click the link tree in the episode description to get you there fast.
So far, we have obviously myself, the LCR Media Podcast. We have Paul Jameson with the Green Industry Podcast, and we have Caleb Allman with the Kid Contractor Podcast. I'm sure Brittany will be on there as well because they do a great job. The dynamic duo on their podcast. So since they'll both be there together, it'll be awesome to I'm sure she'll be on there too. So those are the 3 confirmed podcasters. There will definitely be more that will be confirmed as we get closer. I mean, here it's the beginning of November, almost the middle of November. So we've got a couple months before we get there. So I'm trying to announce this stuff as early as possible. Last year, I don't remember when I announced it, but it was late. I think I announced it in January that I kind of put all this together. So now being as it's the second year, some things are a little more automatic. We know what to expect with certain things, and now it's just how do we improve upon it? What do we tweak from last year, if anything? Obviously, we have a new location, so that's going to be exciting to be at the Almond HQ and be doing that. So you get to check out his headquarters if you're curious about, if you are thinking about looking for a shop or building a shop. I'm sure this is a great opportunity to pick Caleb's brain and see it live and in action and all that, as well as if, like I said, if you want to hang out with any of us and, if you've never met us before, or you just want to, catch up with us again, and we can talk shop, hang out. It's a good kind of like off-season way to reconnect with everyone and just, kind of hopefully get through the rest of the winter and be pumped up and ready to start the spring, feeling good and energized after hanging out and getting to know everyone and talking with like-minded entrepreneurs. And if you're a podcaster listening to this and I didn't contact you last year, please, and you're interested in coming to this podcast summit, please DM me on Instagram or email me at lawncarerookie@gmail.com, or DM me on Instagram at LCR Media or lawncarerookie, whichever one you're following, hopefully both. But just reach out to me one of those ways so that we can connect and I can get you all the information, get you on the list and all that kind of stuff. But for more information, you can click the link in the episode description, of course, so you can get all the details of, the hotel, and because if there's going to be another room block and things like that, and just the information that I just said, you'll be able to see it again. So this way you're not, there's also an Eventbrite for you to be able to register. So all the information is right there. So this way you don't have to remember everything that I said. It'll all be there on the link, and any updates that come along, it'll all be from that link. So, if you sign up, then you'll be notified with any updates. Otherwise, you just have to keep checking back. If, you're following along on my social media or listen to my podcast as updates come about that are important enough to mention, I will definitely mention those so that you guys will know, and you can always go back and check the link and see what may have been updated, over the course of the next couple of months. But this is, the broad scale of Podcast Summit 2023 in January on the 28th, brought to you by the LCR Media Podcast. So I'm super excited. I know Paul and I are trying to get on a podcast together on the Green Industry Podcast so we can discuss a bunch of different things, kind of recap, equip, and everything with that, as well as preview the Podcast Summit. So we'll probably give more details by the time that episode comes out. Any new updates, any confirmed podcasters, and so on. We'll be able to talk about that then, as well as any other details that I might have missed on this episode. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for those notifications for the Green Industry Podcast, and look for any Podcast Summit, stuff, words in the title, the description, so you can click on that to get in, see if there's any updates with that episode. But other than that, we're just going to try and do the best we can to have a good time, right? Which it's kind of natural for us, but we just want as many people to come out as they can. It's like I said, it's a free event. Just come hang out at Almond HQ, get on some podcast, talk shop, have some lunch, and just have a good time. And hopefully that will carry us through the remainder of the off season, cold winter, and so on. And then we can kind of start gearing up for the spring, February and early March, where we can really hit the ground running again for another successful 2023. So that's all I got for the Podcast Summit preview here. Thanks to Kohler for powering this event again, second year in a row. Kohler's all about the community and anything that they can do to support the community and help the community grow, because obviously that's going to help them, right? Sell engines and mowers that are in engines, and mowers that the engines are in, and their 300-hour oil change kit. If you don't know about that, that's legit. I'll have the details of that in the episode description as well, if you want to check that out. I use the kit. All of my mowers, all my Toro grandstands have the 300-hour oil kit, which is a different filter, a different type of oil, which just means it's going to last longer than 100 hours. So instead of having to change your oil every 100 hours, which has been the legacy hour mark forever, it seems like, now it's 300 hours. If you have a Kohler engine with, like, this specific Kohler engine has a specific new filter for the 300-hour kits. So the kit comes with the filter. It's a blue filter. It's pretty unique, so it stands out. You got the 300-hour oil filter on there, and then special, more refined, specially formulated synthetic oil or whatever. I actually have an episode about this. I interviewed Kohler. We talked all about the 300-hour oil kit and how it all came about and all the details about it. So you can go ahead and check that episode out as well. If I remember, we'll try and put that episode link or number or whatever in the episode notes. But the easiest way, right from here, right as you're listening to this, you can just go in whatever podcasting app you're listening to, whether that be Spotify, Apple, whatever. I know those have it, but hopefully all of them have it. There should be a search button somewhere at the top or wherever, and you click search, like on my podcast while you're listening to this right now, and you can type in, Kohler or 300 hour, oil kit, anything like that, and a bunch of episodes or only that episode will come up, anything that matches that search. But that episode should be one, if not the only one that comes up on my podcast, and you can just listen to that right after this episode if you are curious about the 300 hour oil kit. I know I'm happy that I don't have to change my oil every other month, basically, at the rate that I mow. 100 hours, comes quick. But 300 hours, I only have to change my oil like twice a season. That gets me 600 hours. I mean, I really don't go much more than 600 hours in the mowing season at 8 months or so here in the Central Virginia, Richmond, Midlothian area, with multiple mowers. But 100, that could have been 6 times, 6 different oil changes instead of 2. So that's huge if you think about it. Huge in productivity and labor, payroll, all that stuff, man hours, like downtime, like that's what it's all about. And that's why Kohler came out with this. And again, we talk all about that in the episode that you can check out right after this. So thanks again to Kohler for everything, for powering the podcast summit. Thank you to the Toro Company for sponsoring the LCR Media podcast. And until the next episode, this is the Lawn Care Rookie signing off.
This has been an LCR Media and Mr. Producer production.
Weddings are the celebration of all the details that make a couple perfect for each other. And you can find your perfect fit too at Indochino. Choose every detail of a custom tailored suit, from lapels to linings and more, starting at just $4.99. My bad. Shh. Sorry. Find the suit that's perfect for you. Go to Indochino.com and use code PODCAST for 10% off any purchase of $3.99 or more. That's 10% off $3.99 or more at INDOCHINO.com. Code PODCAST.